As I lay in my bed watching my soon-to-be ex-wife being intimate with my neighbor and his wife at our lakeside cabin, I decided that it was time to let them all know what kind of trouble they were already in and how deep they were in it. 6 weeks of surveillance had given me all the evidence I needed, not just of their betrayal, but of the elaborate web of lies they'd spun to justify it. The grainy laptop feed showed me everything I needed to see, and the microphones picked up every hushed confession, every giggle, every moan. My name is Ronald Mercer. 3 tours in Vietnam and 18 months in a POW camp had taught me patience. So when I first suspected Sharon was cheating, I didn't confront her immediately. I observed. I collected intelligence. I planned. Old habits from Special Forces training die hard. I dialed my wife's cell number and watched as she looked at it and threw me the finger, never missing a beat with Daniel. The cabin had been my sanctuary after the war, a place I'd built with my own hands on the edge of Lake Champlain, a place I'd brought Sharon to help heal our marriage. Now it was just another battlefield. Okay, since she didn't want to talk to me, I dialed Sandy's cell. She was laying beside Sharon, watching her husband enjoy my wife. She looked at the number and, not recognizing it, answered. "Sandy, put the phone on speaker and pass it to that cheating woman beside you, now," I said, my voice deadly calm. Sandy, recognizing my voice, jumped up, startled by the realization that they were all caught. Her eyes went wide as dinner plates, her naked body frozen in shock. She stopped Daniel's movements and passed her cell to my soon-to-be ex, forgetting to turn on the speaker. "Sharon, turn on the speaker now." I watched as she figured out how to do that, and then continued. "Do not come home. Do not try to call me or contact me in any way. You are dead to me as of now, and will be dead to everyone else soon enough. And just so you know, I was not cheating on you. That was just a scheme dreamed up between your good friends so that Daniel could be with you. Now pass the damn phone to Daniel and listen carefully, as what I'm about to say applies to all of you." I said it as calmly as if I was talking about the weather. The 3 faces on my laptop screen showed varying degrees of panic. Sharon's face, once so beautiful to me, now contorted with fear. Daniel's smug expression faltering. Sandy looking like she might vomit. Good. They should be afraid. 6 weeks earlier, I'd noticed the first signs. Sharon became protective of her phone, working late more often. Her scent changed, Daniel's cologne, though I didn't know it at the time. Small things that most husbands might miss, but not someone trained to notice details. "Ron, I've got that conference in Albany this weekend," she'd said, packing an overnight bag. "The real estate one?" "I thought that was next month," I replied, pretending not to notice how she tensed. "No, it's this weekend. Marketing strategies for luxury properties." Sharon wouldn't meet my eyes as she folded her lingerie, the special set I'd bought for our anniversary. I nodded, kissed her goodbye, and watched her drive away. Then I followed at a distance in my old pickup truck. The one she always complained was an eyesore. I watched her pull into our lakeside cabin's driveway, not Albany, 90 miles south. I saw Daniel's Audi already parked there. That night I stayed in a motel 5 miles away and made plans. The next day, while they were out on the lake in our boat, I installed the first cameras and microphones. Basic surveillance equipment I'd ordered weeks before, just in case. The cabin's rustic beams and wood paneling made it easy to hide the devices. By the following weekend, I had a complete system installed. I could watch and listen from anywhere with an internet connection. And so I did. Shaken now that she heard my voice, Sharon started to say, "Ron, it's not..." But I interrupted her. "It's exactly what I can see it is. The cabin is wired for sound and video and has been for the last 6 weeks. Think what you 3 have done and said over the last 6 weeks as you put some clothes on and passed the phone to your soon-to-be-dead lover." Even over the somewhat grainy picture on my laptop, I could see the color drain from her face as she looked at Daniel and said, "He knows and is watching us now." and she passed the cell phone to Daniel, looking around the room as if she could see the cameras. Daniel grabbed the phone, his confidence momentarily returning. I could see him squaring his shoulders, preparing to lie. Before he could even begin to spout his BS on how this was the first time, I cut him off. Daniel, my good neighbor and good friend, you need to decide on two things once I hang up on this call. First, I hope you have enough cash with you and enough gas in your car to get you out of the country ASAP, because as of right now, I am declaring open season on your scumbag cheating self and the two disloyal women with you. And you should know I am an excellent shot and mean what I say. Daniel's face hardened. He thought I was bluffing. We'd been neighbors for 5 years. Barbecues in the summer and beers on my deck while watching football. He'd known me as the quiet veteran who kept to himself, except for occasional neighborly interactions. He didn't know the other Ron, the one who'd survived things most men couldn't imagine. Second, do not try to come back to the neighborhood ever. Don't try to come back to collect your things or sell your house. It would be a waste of time anyway, as your house is burning to the ground as we speak. This wasn't true, not yet, but it would be soon. The remote detonator sat beside my laptop, ready to trigger the accelerant I'd carefully placed throughout their home last week while they were at the cabin. Don't bring your POS wife here, and don't try to appear noble by bringing my soon-to-be ex-wife back to me, as I don't want either of them. Your best option is to run. Run as fast as you can to get as far from me as possible, because when I catch you, I fully intend to show you exactly what the North Vietnamese taught me about torture. The memories flashed unbidden. Bamboo slivers under my fingernails, waterboarding before it had that name, stress positions for days until my shoulders dislocated. I pushed them away. I know you like those movies about Rambo. Well, those were Hollywood fiction. I'm going to show you the real thing. As for your wife and the cheating woman that used to be mine with you, I wouldn't be intimate with either of them with even your diseased body part, but I will suggest to you that it's easier to run alone than dragging two faithless women along with you. Sharon was crying now, her makeup streaming down her face. We'd been married 15 years. She'd helped me through the worst of the nightmares and held me when I woke up screaming. And this was how she repaid that loyalty. For them, they should know that if they are with you when I catch up to you, then they can share in your fun. I'll have no problem including both in your torture. I've seen and heard enough over the last 6 weeks that my anger shall be more than adequate to include them both. The recordings had revealed more than just the physical betrayal. They'd talked about me, laughed about me. Daniel had mimicked my nightmares, making Sharon and Sandy laugh. They'd mocked my inability to maintain friendships, my social awkwardness, the PTSD symptoms I'd fought for decades to control. I'm going to hang up now. You have 1 hour to get the hell out of my cabin, and the clock starts ticking now. Sad thing is, you don't know exactly where I'm calling from. I could be at home, or I could be around the corner at the lakeside grocery store. Start running, jerk. And I hung up. Sharon was watching Daniel as I spoke my piece. He paled slightly. Then, as if he couldn't believe what I was telling him, he began to show his confidence that I was all bark and no bite. I watched the screen as all three of them began talking at once. Daniel said, "He's just BSing us. He doesn't have the balls to do any such thing." The Daniel I knew was a real estate developer, successful and arrogant. 6'2", gym-honed physique, always dressed like he'd stepped out of a catalog. The kind of man who'd never faced real danger or fear. "You never did listen to what Ron said about the VC when you two watched Rambo, did you, Dan?" said Sharon. She at least knew better. She'd heard my screams in the night and seen the scars that mapped my back and chest. "No, all those old vets embellish their exploits to make them feel better," Dan replied dismissively. "Well, you're wrong about Ron. He spent almost a year and a half in a VC POW camp, and I can say for a fact that he still has nightmares to this day. Furthermore, he does not lie, never has, and hates those that do. So what's this nonsense about his not cheating on me?" asked Sharon as she looked at both Daniel and Sandy. This caught my attention. I leaned closer to the screen. Sandy looked at Daniel and said, "Danny, you said you had proof he cheated. What is it?" Daniel shrugged his shoulders, saying, "Doesn't matter now. Besides, he has no proof anything went on here. This place isn't wired. He's lying." The pieces fell into place. They'd manufactured some lie about me cheating to justify their affair. Classic manipulation. Sharon said, "Didn't you hear what I just said? He doesn't lie. And what do you mean by it doesn't matter? Damn it, it surely matters to me." To get things going, I decided to call them back and end their delusional crap. The phone rang, and Sharon, seeing it was me calling and thinking I was calling to confess to lying to them, answered the phone with a smug tone. "Calling to confess are—" she started. I interrupted. "It's easy to see who is telling the truth. Daniel, turn the TV on to channel 126 and tell me what you see, scumbag, then get dressed. You're wasting valuable time." Channel 126 was the input channel I'd configured to display the cabin's main camera feed. A simple trick, but effective. "Sandy, call your mother Miriam and ask her how your house is. Remember, time's running. By the way, Sandy, you might also ask her why she's been sleeping with Daniel every Tuesday at my cabin for the last 5 weeks." And I hung up. This wasn't a bluff. The surveillance had revealed more than just Sharon and Daniel's betrayal. Daniel had been bringing Sandy's 60-year-old mother to the cabin on Tuesdays, while Sandy thought he was playing golf. The web of deception was elaborate, almost impressive if it wasn't so pathetic. Daniel turned the TV to the appropriate channel and immediately could see a real-time picture of the three of them staring at the TV. The look of horror on their faces as they realized I'd been watching everything was worth every penny I'd spent on the surveillance system. Sandy called her mother. She was told they'd been trying to reach them for 2 hours to tell them about the fire that had destroyed their house. Everything was gone. When Sandy asked her what she did with Daniel every Tuesday, after a very short silence, Miriam just sighed and hung up. I hadn't actually burned their house yet, but I had friends who owed me favors. A quick call and the job was done before Sandy even dialed her mother. Timing is everything in warfare. Sandy turned to confront Daniel, but all she saw was his back as he went out to his car and left. He didn't even pack his stuff. He just dressed, got his money, emptied both their purses, and left the two women there on their own with no car, no money, no credit cards, nothing. As Daniel drove down the drive away from the cabin, Sharon screamed, "You sons of witches! Both of you lied to me, and now I've lost my husband, my marriage, and more than likely my very life." I was a little disappointed in Daniel leaving without the ladies, but knew I'd take care of them later. Sandy, who was just as stupid as her husband, said, "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Sharon. It's only been a little romance. Nobody's going to be killed, much less even seriously hurt. Ron isn't the kind of person to—" That was as far as she got. Suddenly, there were a series of loud explosions as Daniel's car reached the highway and set off the tripwires to the Claymore mines that had been set up there. There wasn't a square inch of the driver's side door that didn't have a hole through it, and Daniel lay dead against the steering wheel. As a matter of fact, all the doors were hit by their own claymores, so that anyone traveling with Daniel would have died along with him. Ashen-faced, Sharon looked at Sandy and said, "You were saying, witch. Ever heard of PTSD?" But the story doesn't end there. As I watched the two women on the screen, their horrified faces illuminated by the distant glow of the explosion, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not relief, not even anger anymore. Just emptiness. The claymores had been another bluff. I'd rigged small directional charges that would simulate the sound and flash of claymores without the lethal shrapnel. Daniel's car was damaged, but he wasn't hurt, just scared out of his mind, which was my intention. The explosion had been calculated to convince Sharon and Sandy that I was serious while giving Daniel a chance to flee. I closed my laptop and looked around my hotel room. The bare walls, generic art, and stiff bedspread represented my future now, anonymous, transient, devoid of warmth. I'd lost everything that mattered, but so had they. My cell phone rang. It was my old commander, Colonel Jackson. "Ron? Got your message. Jesus Christ, man, what have you done?" "Nothing they didn't deserve, sir." "Ron, listen to me. You're talking crazy. I know what you've been through." "All due respect, sir, you don't." "No one does who wasn't in that camp," I replied. "Fair enough. But this isn't Nam, and these aren't VC. They're civilians. Your wife. Your neighbors." Not anymore. I felt the cold detachment settling in, the same feeling I'd had in combat. They're just targets now. A long pause. "I'm coming to get you. Where are you?" "Can't tell you that, sir." "Ron, you need help. The war's been over for 50 years. Don't throw away what's left of your life over this." I stared at the ceiling. "That's just it, sir. There isn't much left." 2 hours later, I pulled into the cabin's driveway. The women's faces appeared in the window, terror evident even from a distance. I'd let them stew, let them imagine all the things I might do to them. Psychological warfare. I walked in without knocking. My cabin, after all. Sharon stood in the center of the living room, clutching a fireplace poker. Sandy cowered behind her. "Ron, please," Sharon said, her voice quivering. "I'm sorry. We're both so sorry." I sat down on the sofa, deliberately casual. "Put that down before you hurt yourself, Sharon." Are you going to kill us?" Sandy whispered. I looked at her for a long moment. "Do you really think so little of me?" Sharon lowered the poker. "But Daniel?" "Is fine. Scared, but fine. The explosions were just for show." I gestured to the couch opposite me. "Sit down, both of you." They sat, clinging to each other like children. "I'm not going to hurt you. Either of you. That was never the plan." "Then what?" Sharon began. "I wanted you to feel what I felt. The betrayal, the fear, the helplessness." I looked directly at her. "You've been cheating with Daniel for 6 months, not 6 weeks. I've known almost from the beginning." Her eyes widened. "How?" "I know you, Sharon. 15 years I know your tells. The way you avoid eye contact when you lie. The extra showers. The sudden need to work late when you've never done that before." Sandy spoke up. "Why go through all this? Why not just confront us?" I laughed, a hollow sound. "Would you have stopped? Or would you have just gotten better at hiding it? This way there are consequences. Real ones." I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the lake was calm, reflecting the late afternoon sun. "Daniel's car is disabled, but he's not hurt. He's probably halfway to Canada by now. Your house really is gone, Sandy. Insurance won't cover it. I made sure of that. Arson investigation will find evidence of you two planning it for the insurance money." "That's not true," she protested. "No, but it'll look true. The emails from your account to Daniel's discussing it are very convincing. As for your mother, well, that was real. Ask her about Tuesdays sometime." Sharon stood up slowly. "What about me?" "Us?" I turned to face her. "There is no us anymore. As of this morning, our joint accounts are empty. The money's gone, transferred through a dozen offshore accounts. The house is on the market. Papers you signed last month for a refinance that wasn't. The cabin's already sold." Her face crumpled. "You can't do this." "I already have. Everything I've done is legal. Barely, but legal. Everything you've done isn't. Here's what happens next. You two will walk out of here, get in Sharon's car, and drive away. I don't care where. I don't want to know. If I ever see either of you again, what happened today will seem like a pleasant dream compared to what I'll do." "We have nothing," Sandy whimpered. "You have each other," I replied coldly. That's more than I have. After they left, I stayed at the cabin one last night. In the morning, the new owners would arrive, a young couple starting their life together. I hoped they'd be happier here than Sharon and I had been. I packed the last of my things into my truck and took one final walk down to the lake. The water lapped gently at the shore, unconcerned with human drama. My phone rang again. Colonel Jackson. "Ron?" got word from the sheriff. "No bodies found. Tell me you didn't do anything stupid." "Nobody's hurt, sir. Not physically, anyway." A relieved sigh. "Thank God. Where are you?" "Heading your way. Thought I might take you up on that offer to stay for a while." "Door's always open, son. Always." I hung up and looked out over the water. In my pocket was the detonator for the last set of charges, ones set under the cabin's foundation. One push and it would all be gone. The scene of the betrayal, the memories, the pain. I turned the detonator over in my hand, feeling its weight. Then I drew back my arm and threw it as far as I could into the lake. It disappeared with a small splash. Some things shouldn't be destroyed even when they hurt. Some things you just have to walk away from. I got in my truck and drove away without looking back. Open season was over. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.